Hi, I'm Paul.
And I'm Tiffany.
To some, we could be called career wizards.
And to others, sometimes we seem like therapists. However, we definitely are not.
But for you, we are the co hosts of the Career Boosters podcast.
In class, I was just like scrolling through my LinkedIn and seeing what was already done and what I obviously there's some room of improvement for most of things, but probably the best things about my LinkedIn profile was that it was perfectly coherent with my resume.
Hello and welcome to the Career Boosters podcast. And today we are talking all things LinkedIn. Today's guest, Arthur Benitez, a first year MBA student, very kindly agreed to come and talk to us on this show about LinkedIn in 2025. LinkedIn, as many of you know, is a professional networking social tool. This is the place to go if you're wanting to connect with other professionals in pretty much any space, learn about jobs in so many different areas, share your subject matter expertise with the world. And in class this week, we kind of started with a bit of the basics. So your headshot, the background photo, the headline, to the About Me section, your experience, volunteer, all of the stuff is what we kind of went through this week. And then we have been making a very concerted effort to have Tiffany enlighten students around the use of tools and AI tools and generative AI tools to help students maximize their potential with this online platform, social platform. So today we're going to dive into all of this with Arthur. Arthur, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And the first question that we have is, what's the story behind your decision to embark on an MBA journey right now?
Well, first and foremost, thank you guys for having me here as a guest. It's a great opportunity, and I've been wanting to do this for some time, so thank you. As for the MBA journey, it has really been a journey, exactly that, a journey, a long one, actually. I have been thinking about this probably like for the last 7 years or so, so it's been some time. But when I started thinking about it, I had just graduated from my undergrad degree and I didn't have any experience. I just knew that I would probably need a master's degree somewhere in my career. But it didn't feel like the personal chess pieces were in the right place. So I think that was mainly the problem at that time. I remember like calling some universities back in Mexico, and most of them told me that they required me to have some kind of experience or at least like 3 years of experience to really take advantage of the MBA journey. Um, because most of the classes would require me to participate actively, and for that to be optimized, I would require like some kind of experience in the real world. And so I think that was the main problem back then. I spent a lot of years after that in the industry, working for retailers, for very big retailers, both physical and e-com. And after that, I was quite sure that I wouldn't be be coming back to this school because I like working so much. And I had a lot of free time. I had a great work-life balance, and I wasn't sure to come back. So I kind of just forgot about coming to an MBA until like uh, probably 2 or 3 years ago. And that was when I was starting to look again for universities and see what's going on. Like, because a lot of people out in the industry, I saw that they had this kind of technical degrees or most advanced educational degrees, and it really worked for them in the sense that they had some theories behind everything that was going on in the real world. And even if you have lot of, lot, lots of experience, it really helps to have like the theory behind it all. So I think for me, it was more like a personal journey where the chess pieces needed to fall in place in order for me to really be here.
Mm. And yes, what a journey. And it's a testament behind kind of some of the superpower that experience can give you in the MBA. That there is something to be said for coming in with, like you said, some real world experience. And curious to talk to you today about a very specific segment of that experience, and that is your experience and exposure to LinkedIn. Let's start with a little bit of a baseline. Did you have any? Have you used it before? So before the MBA, how much had you used LinkedIn? How important was it? Tell us your experience with it.
I used it very much. Yeah, I was fairly experienced using LinkedIn. I actually looked this information up, but I joined LinkedIn in 2014, so over 10 years ago. Uh, and I am always trying to get my profiles like very filled up with as much information as I can. So, and this is not just about LinkedIn. This is just like about me. I try to fill up my information in all my different profiles, even in Facebook. So I had a lot of information already up in LinkedIn before the MBA. But obviously, this is like a platform that I use most of the times to just connect with people that I already know and not so much about people that I want to know. So I don't, I probably am not using it so much as a networking as I could or as I should. But before the MBA, I used it obviously to look for jobs. But
Mm,
mainly it was to receive job offers because, as I said, I had already a great job back in Mexico. But fortunately for me, all of my jobs have been great, and I've been very grateful for them.
mhm.
So I haven't had the need to go on the look for a job.
Yeah.
But a lot of recruiters sent messages to me in there, and they gave me like some opportunities. Most of them I didn't even hear about them because I already had a great opportunity.
Yeah.
But I am fortunate to say that I did receive a job thanks to LinkedIn,
Mm,
and it was probably one of the biggest changes in my career that
mm.
I won't regret because it really had a positive impact in the rest of it.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah,
That's cool.
uh, yeah, one fun fact too is that just before the MBA, started applying also for jobs here in Canada, but that
Mm,
seems to be a lot harder than
mhm.
it seems. I
Yeah.
think it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, a little different here in Canada, and a little different utilizing the tool, right? So interesting. I love how you went back and you looked at when you joined LinkedIn. I remember, I think it was, the very early 2000s that it was created, 2003, 2004, somewhere around in there. And to see a tool go from it being just another social platform to the professional social platform is really interesting. You talked about having job opportunities, connecting with people, and those kinds of things. So we talked a lot about different tips and tricks and setting your LinkedIn account up really well. And you had a chance already, probably came in with a really great LinkedIn account. But what's one thing that we went over in class that may have been unfamiliar to you?
Probably. Probably the about section. I obviously had some information there in the about section, but what I had even have because I haven't changed it yet. It's mainly like a summary of the highlights of my resume, just reading as a paragraph or a bunch of sentences. And I know that that is not the most engaging option now. So I know that there's some room for improvement there about storytelling and probably about being more engaging and trying to leave the information for the people to remember afterwards and just not be like a summary of the resume.
And you talk about two really key important points when we're looking at resumes, cover letters, LinkedIn profiles. And one is, how do you even get somebody to read it? So how do you hook somebody to like hit the read more button and keep going? Because we just don't. We are the scrolling culture. Not only that, then you talked about, well, how does somebody remember me? So, how do you engage them, hook them, and how do you make yourself sticky? And the about section, for sure, if done properly, can be that way. And we went over a few different about sections in class. We gave some examples, and everybody had differing opinions of them. What did you find to be really engaging, or what are you going to think about as you update your own section?
Engaging about my the profile or my section
Yeah, the
specifically.
about me section, the examples we did in class, which ones really grabbed you?
Probably that uh, they were written as stories more, so I think that's a better option. I am still thinking that the stories that you showed in class were just too long. I will keep with my opinion in that because if a recruiter has so little time for every candidate, I don't think they're willing to. So, and I think one of you actually mentioned this that you would probably just skim like through the first sentences and then probably the last one. So I would rather keep it short and keep it like 2 paragraph long. I think that would be a better option just to make it short and try to get them to read all of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it mainly have it written as a story.
Yeah. I think, what's fascinating about that answer, Arthur, is that I teach LinkedIn to both full-time and part-time MBA students, also teach storytelling. So hopefully those two things like really complement each other to do that. And you're right, like we show and demonstrate, the about me sections that are a little longer that have like a story to them. And I think Tiffany and I both thought, these are just examples for you to kind of see how storytelling can take place in more of the written word. Can it be shorter? Can it be more impactful? Can it be to the point? Can it tailor to what you want? Absolutely. If you find yourself more of a succinct communicator that's a little bit more introverted, having something that's shorter probably works in your favor, but having something a little longer for most people, for some people, also works longer, right? So,
Can I add something onto that, Paul, as to
yeah.
just kind of, I think things have changed. I think, and it's going to continue to change. I think LinkedIn about me sections of, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago are probably a bit different than LinkedIn and some other cases too. So the shift is
Mhm.
interesting to watch even on what is now normal
Yeah.
and what used to be.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I'm going to throw something out here, and this just has come to mind in the last little bit. But one thing that I had been contemplating for, I think it was about since kind of 2020 when we had our all of our lives kind of be disrupted and all of us went home. I wonder if there's an opportunity to create a video instead of it being written, right? I wonder if there's an opportunity for you to introduce yourself in more of a different kind of platform, and how can we make that happen? How can that be done? Well, that's something we can look into, but maybe there's a different way to kind of deliver that message, right? It doesn't have to be writing. And, we're all addicted to these like reels and TikToks and all of this kind of stuff. How can we make a short introduction? So the opposite of, what did you take away? What have you already covered for yourself for LinkedIn, Arthur? What do you think that you've, really hit the nail on the head? You've kind of finished that already for your profile.
Well, as I said, I had already filled up pretty much my LinkedIn profile. That everything was full of information. So I think most of the sections I had pretty much covered. Um, in class, I was just like scrolling through my LinkedIn and seeing what was already done and what I obviously there's some room of improvement for most of things, but probably the best things about my LinkedIn profile was that it was perfectly coherent with my resume because I was a bit obsessive about that. So yeah, I made sure that everything was perfect there. Also, the headline was was good enough. I think it doesn't need immediate action, but I am still thinking about it and seeing if maybe if there's something to change. And I would suggest to all of your audience to really fill their contact info and have their resume uploaded in LinkedIn because there's a feature there that you get to see when you're looking for jobs. There's a button that says easy apply or something like that. So it makes the whole process of applying to that a lot easier if you already have like a resume and you don't have enough time to tailor it, which I know is the best option. you just hit the button and it gets uploaded immediately. Obviously, I would recommend tailoring the resume if you have enough time and chance, but uh, time is a bit tricky to get.
Time is tricky, absolutely. And I appreciate what you're saying on the easy apply button because it's a reality. It is. People hire that way. And I want to underscore that that button is really great if you have a good profile. It's a really easy button to use. And if it's a button that you're using, but if they're going to come back and look at your profile because you've used your profile to apply and it's not that great, then what risk is that easy apply button? It's saving you some time, but it's got some risk. And so if you're like yourself and you have gone through and it matches and the resume is tailored, that's a fabulous option. If you're not, just a little bit of a warning, maybe do that first before using that button. But And I
Yeah,
appreciate that you're speaking our language. Your LinkedIn profile and your resume complement each other. They're similar, right? They tell a story in a different way, but it's the same story, which is really important for sure. You talked about the headline and you talked about having one that doesn't need immediate attention. What do you think is important about the headline in LinkedIn?
it needs to be to the point, probably. Like, it needs to be very concise. It's 220 characters long, and I would probably not recommend using those 202 characters and 20 characters. So it's just about keeping it fairly simple, like what you're doing, what are you interested in, and what kind of opportunities are you looking into. So it's just describe yourself in 5 to 10 words, probably.
And we talked a little bit about kind of best practices when it comes to that headline, Arthur. And I think when we look at the amount of information that you get in there, it's just the starting point of searching for other people. It can allow you to be a little creative, but at the same time, like short and simple and to the point is definitely what we want. We don't want a full sentence or a paragraph in there. We need like just really strong words that can really adapt to who you are, whether you're a learner, whether you are, really great with IT, whatever that means, right? And I think that that can be very helpful. Tiffany touched a lot on artificial intelligence, AI being a common partner or kind of author around your LinkedIn content. What opportunities or risks do you see with using LinkedIn in your experience? And then AI is that kind of complementary piece to that.
I think it's a very tricky subject. AIs are still learning. We should keep that in mind. And that's both for best and for worst. For worst because we don't really know how they work. It is very messy, and you need to keep in mind that it's a probabilistic model, so it has probability inside of it. And obviously, over time, it will become even more powerful. It will give even better answers. And well, I think one of the main points of using it nowadays is what we were just talking before the record button was hit, about some words being identified as part of the generic AI written answer. So it's very interesting because the AI was made so that you could look professional if you used it, because it gave you like very concise and well formed sentences. But nowadays it has backfired in the way that there are some words that it's like this was generated by AI. Okay, let's discard this candidate. So it's actually actually, I think it may have been even counterproductive in the sense that now you have to be careful with what you write, because even if you write it by yourself, if it sounds like you did it with AI, it might be discarded just because of that. So it's very complex. It's a very complex subject. I wouldn't know at this point if it has helped. uh, I think it has like a very broad range where some people have been benefited, a lot of others may have not. So it's just a very tricky subject. Tread with care, probably.
I like that. Tread with care. And I want to point back to the words that you use of still learning. And I want to expand that to AI. Yep, still learning. And I actually think it's learning a bit faster than we kind of thought it would, but it is still learning. So are we. And the skill set that you need to have AI give you something that doesn't sound like AI, that is actually really good, that skill set, that bar of that skill set is raising. And so we talked about words that just scream AI. So delve is one I wanted to delve into or even dive into. And so even if that's your words, even if you've written that way for the last 10 years and you like the word delve, right now sounds AI. And that's an interesting, tricky piece of this to now start to avoid AI sounding language. The other piece is emojis. For anybody out there who's using emojis in your LinkedIn post, even if you like them, even if they're yours, it is now a flashing neon sign that it was written by AI. So ditch the emojis. I use them sparingly to make bullets because LinkedIn doesn't allow for bullets. So there are some little emojis that can create you some bullets. Outside of that, no rocket ships, no hearts, no brains. That is now AI, even if it is yours. So it is possible, though. The encouragement I want to give is that it is 100% possible to have Gen AI create stuff that sounds human, but it takes an interesting skill set now to do so. So thank you for highlighting the tread with caution.
Can I
Mm-hmm.
add something to that?
Please do.
Uh, do you remember like a couple weeks ago that we were talking about the resume and uh, you guys mentioned that an average recruiter would spend between 7 and 8 seconds just to skim through it. And I thought like that's crazy. That's very little time. What can you really read in 7 to 8 seconds? You probably read less than you think. So I,
Correct.
I was thinking like what would be a great tool to use and try to give all the candidates a better chance to stand out. Well, that might be AI too. So
Uh-huh.
that's a very interesting point. But eventually, I think it will come up like AI reviewing AI generated
Yep.
resumes. So it's AI versus AI, and I don't know
Yeah.
what to think about that.
And I actually think that that currently exists. That there is very sophisticated AI that is skimming. We call them ATS systems, and they've been around for forever, applicant tracking systems, but now they're being backed by stronger and stronger AI. So it is 100% somebody uses AI to create their resume, and AI is evaluating it to try to support a human. But where's the opportunity and the risk in there? Because there's both for sure. Mm-hmm. So tread carefully and up your skill set. That would be the, if anybody takes any message from this, it's not ditch generative AI, it is learn to use it because people who don't at some point really quickly are going to be left behind a little bit. Yeah, Paul.
I'm gonna just share one thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I believe we've mentioned on our podcast before for sure, and it's something that I hear a lot. I don't think AI is gonna take our jobs. It's not gonna. Some jobs are gonna probably be
Mm-hmm.
maximized and
Mm-hmm.
more efficient with it, but it's really the people who know how to use
Uh-huh.
tools like AI tools, and now they help their work be better because of it. That's who's going to take your jobs.
Yep.
It is really the people who just know how to utilize the tools that are in front of them. So
Agreed. Mm-hmm. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. I could talk about AI kind of all day long. It's one of my sort of favorite topics to talk about, but we won't. Let's talk about people that you follow. So we've talked about content creation. You brought up networking, that you haven't quite started to use it for networking, that's a new function for you. Tell me a little bit about, is there anybody now that you're following in your network? Are there people that we should follow that you find interesting? Just who's out there in your network?
Well, as I said, most of the people that are on my network, I already know. I usually use it like kind of like a professional Facebook in the sense that I would go and meet that person in person, like physically. And after that, I would send the LinkedIn request and not the other way around. So most of the people I already know. But I think that the main difference between LinkedIn and other networks is that I am more willing to accept acquaintances in LinkedIn. I am usually more private with Instagram or Facebook. I only accept the ones that I consider closest. So LinkedIn may be a bit different with that. And that's people that I find interesting. I usually try to follow as many people as I really know in the real world, but as long as they are close enough for me to know them, even if I have talked to them maybe just a couple times. So I have everything in there from people that I knew a very long time ago in my undergrad degree to a bunch of people of my last job, like between managers, senior managers. I
Mm,
even have a couple of directors. So
mm,
obviously there's a lot of difference between each of the profiles.
yeah.
But yeah, I think it's mostly people that I know of the workplace.
Yeah. Cool. The thing I really loved what you just said was I'm more willing to kind of add an acquaintance into my LinkedIn profile than I am, maybe on Facebook or something like that, because I think that's really interesting. And it's not a numbers game. It's not about how many connections you have, but I think that you never know where an acquaintance could kind of help you along with a few things. So we're
Can
not
I,
done. Oh,
sorry, talk about acquaintances? Here's what I hit delete on though. All of the requests, if your tagline, because I have a side business and it's noted on my LinkedIn, how many helping coaches scale to blah, blah, blah clients. And so clear sales, I get a ton of them. I hit delete. I do not accept those.
yeah, I think like the fishing and the marketing stuff, and I
Yeah,
think that's what we're
not
kind of
my
talking
thing.
about, right? It's like a little bit more on the acquaintance side of things. I may know
Yeah,
a
so you
person
don't
who
have to
knows
say
a person.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
So we're not done talking about LinkedIn in the classes that we do with MBA students. What's one thing you hope you can continue to learn more about or learn more about just in the upcoming weeks that we talk to students about LinkedIn?
Well, I hope I have made enough changes by then so that I can see a difference. Because I remember you saying that you would give us some time to think about things, and then you did not. But well, yeah. And
Correct. We did not. Thank you for pointing that out.
so yes, I think it's mostly an iterating process. So I need to make process in this week, and I hope for the following weeks I made some improvement and see where has like what has to be improved yet. Uh,
Mhm.
so yeah, just keep improving.
Iterating is the thing. I will speak for myself. I imagine Paul's the same, that while I've been in LinkedIn for a long time and I also have a pretty robust profile, I keep continuing to tweak it. And things shift. It used to be that your headline was a sentence. That's where it started off, or two sentences for that matter. And now we're into using the vertical bar. And so as things shift, my profile also shifts. So I look forward to supporting you. And we do have a whole other class on more pieces of LinkedIn. So we promise we'll try to give you a bit of time to work on it. If not, you and I can work on it. I just want to spend just a small amount of time on a topic that is an interesting topic to talk about, and it's the open to work button that gives you the green bar on your picture in LinkedIn. Because I think there's very differings of opinion on that functionality in LinkedIn, and I'm just curious to hear yours. And I will not crawl on my soapbox that I did in class, but I'd like to hear your opinion.
Well, I actually have to say that I agree with you with what you
Ooh.
said in class. I mean, as we said, LinkedIn is mainly to look for jobs. So if it's already there and it's a tool for that, you might as well use it because, well, I just like everything click when you mentioned that, right?
Mhm. It is a
Facebook
big
is
function of
Facebook.
LinkedIn. Mhm.
Instagram is Instagram, LinkedIn is for jobs, for professional network. And I know it might sound desperate when you see, but then again, if you want to go and have social posts, then go to Instagram.
Yeah. And I am one of the people that probably sits on the other side of a fence of it's not my favorite thing. However, I have tried to utilize some skills that I'm trying to work on, flexibility, trying to understand where other people are coming from. And I definitely think that there's a place and a time for it. I think that if you are, let's say you were let go, let's say were with a company that went through downsizing, and having open to work is totally fine on there. The risks that I see is if you're currently working and you put that you're open to work, What happens if I'm sure you're connected with your boss? I'm sure you're connected with a colleague. You're gonna probably have some conversations that maybe you didn't expect. And so, how can you use it in the best place for you? And I would just say, just use it to your best discretion, is what I would
Mhm.
say.
I agree with that too. And even though I definitely am a cheerleader for it and trying to bust the bias behind it that seems to end up there, I'm with Paul on there's a time and a place. I think there's a time and a place not to use that publicly either as well, for sure. I appreciate your thoughts, Arthur, and thank you for sharing them. And I was prepped even if they disagreed with my very kind of loud opinion in class, but thank you for that. All right, there's lots to learn from LinkedIn. And I actually kind of like to point out that I think Arthur could have probably taught maybe part of the class or at least supported it with all that you've used it for. So I appreciate your expertise in on this as well. But it's time for a lightning round. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right, let's do it. Three quick questions, three gut answers. What of your career has given you the biggest boost?
Leaving a job that I already liked for something that was way riskier and I didn't know anything about, but in the end, it paid off very well.
Oh, lovely. What is it that you wish you had learned sooner?
Life is not fair. So
Oh, yeah,
you need to
true.
deal with it. You need to learn from that.
Great life lesson. And service is just so important to Paul and I. It's part of who we are, and we just focus on it all the time. So we're always curious to hear how you are going to serve others, or maybe even yourself in the coming week.
I will try to focus on serving my wife because she has been very nice to me and that needs retribution. Yeah.
Aw. And I get the pleasure of coaching you, and so I get the pleasure of hearing actually your kind of adoration for your wife and how much she supports you, and it's always really lovely to hear. So thank you. All right, Paul. Paul's random question.
All right, Arthur. I have been thinking about this for a few minutes, and the thing I appreciate, I try to bring in something that, maybe people don't recognize or people don't see through this random question. I love how you utilize technology. You are always the one writing and taking notes on a laptop or a tablet. You are very rarely in front of a piece of paper. It's always digital. What is the next piece of technology that you hope to get?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. I am not sure. I usually always have something in mind, but over the last year, what has been going on is that as I was making progress for me to be here studying my MBA in Canada, I was kind of rewarding myself over time. Like for each milestone, I would buy a specific gadget. So nowadays, most of my gadgets are kind of new. So for the first time being, I don't have any technological thing in mind, but something that was very cool were the Meta Quest. No, no, those are not the Meta Quest. The Meta Ray-Ban glasses that you showed us in class, those are very cool, and probably I would look forward to having some of those in the future. Probably not this year, neither the next one, but eventually I will get there.
You and Paul will be twinsies, although you'll have the newest version. And Paul will be jealous of all the things that your glasses do that his don't. Arthur, you just because I get to coach you, I have interacted with you a little bit more along the way. And you are someone that is surprising to me. There is so much about you that on the surface isn't necessarily immediately apparent, but spend 5 minutes with Arthur, and it is just such an interesting conversation. And so I have appreciated getting to know you. I encourage others to do so because you bring such a wealth of information, humor along the way, humility, and in this case, LinkedIn expertise, which was really cool. We were just looking for somebody willing to talk about it, but you showed up with like experience with it, and that's really neat. So we look forward to expanding it, to giving you time to work on it in class, maybe. And I appreciate that you, I would imagine, will help others along the way because you've had some experience here. So that makes you pretty valuable to everybody else in your class. So thanks for sharing that with us.
Thank you for having me. It was a great time.
You're welcome. All right, key takeaways. And actually, I think we probably could have kept him here and he could have just done his own key takeaways because he's pretty knowledgeable. But my key takeaway, I'm going to focus around AI because it's just a topic that I really enjoy. And I appreciated the words of still learning. AI is still learning, but we need to be still learning. And to that end, I want to offer a tip for anybody who is using generative AI, specifically perhaps for LinkedIn content, networking, is that make sure that you are asking it to give you content in multiple different ways. So your prompt should always include, if you're working on your headline, give me 10 different headlines that incorporate and then give it the guidelines that you want it to incorporate. Write this about me section in 5 different ways from 5 different points of view, and use AI as a partner to brainstorm and then kind of piece together the parts that seem like you or seem interesting to you, but have it do that in multiple ways and do that in any sort of content creation. It's really powerful. And you'd be surprised some of the things that you never would have thought of, but you also would have never got if you asked it for one output. So there's my tip.
We could have full episodes on utilizing AI and its powerful
Maybe we should.
tools, and I think that will be something as we move forward into the spring and summer months where there's less classes, and because I think there's just so many tips and tricks to go along with that. For me, what I took away from this episode, it was very early on. I think it was almost one of his first responses, and he talked about having personal chess pieces and having those personal chess pieces be part of the journey. We look at things like values and strengths, emotional intelligence, all of the pieces that go to who we are. I think we have our own chessboard that we're moving along, right? And we'll have different challenges, we'll have different strategies we need to implement. But I think at the end of the day, understanding what those chess pieces are and understanding where they kind of fit along the way, and understanding that they can move and understanding that they can move in different directions. So that's what I took away from today and talking to Arthur.
I love that metaphor. And you can even take it to LinkedIn. So how do you display your chessboard with all of its pieces effectively for a LinkedIn audience?
Yeah.
You have to know your pieces in order to create a good LinkedIn profile. So that's awesome. Love that metaphor. Next week, we talk about the word that just comes up, I think, more often than any other word in any of our episodes, and that is networking. So we will talk about it a lot, probably coming up, but for sure, all of next episode. So see you then. Thanks for tuning in to the Career Boosters podcast. We hope you had a blast. Yeah, we know that's corny. Catch you next time, and remember to subscribe wherever you enjoy podcasts.